Hi, my name is Kristen. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at BHive, and we are here on International Women's Day. We've got together an amazing panel of women, entrepreneurs and innovators, and we're going to be chatting through what does it mean to be a woman in this ecosystem, how can we make it better for the women of tomorrow, and what are the things we're really excited for today. Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us today at BHive. I'm so excited to have this discussion. We've brought together some wonderful women from across the ecosystem, and my job is to learn about your journeys. My job is to learn about the good and about the bad and everything in between. I'm really excited to hear about your perspectives and learn about how we can all make this ecosystem a better place for everybody. I always like to say a rising tide lifts all ships. And I think that it's so wonderful to have women at the table because we bring such a unique perspective, a different energy, a different point of view, and that helps the whole ecosystem rise. So I want to hear from each of you about what does that look like to you? What has your journey been? What are some of the things you've learned? And how can we make this ship rise for everybody? So talk to me about the ecosystem and your just general experiences in tech, in innovation. What does it mean to you? What has kind of been your experience? Mina, maybe we'll start with you.
Tech is really new environment for me, I should say, but I really love it. I'm coming from marketing and communication background, so communication is all around my bubble. But you know, putting things skill and core into different industries need a time to be adapted to. Needs several set of skills to learn and need an environment, you know, to accept you. At least, you know, you find your position in that area. I should say it's really exciting to be part of that. A very interesting journey, but it's still challenging. A startup roller coaster, ups and downs.
Yeah.
And but it still is very welcoming and inviting females into this. We have our.
I often hear when people talk about founders, the assumption is that it's a man. So when you walk into a room and there's, you know, it's going to be a bunch of founders, and you walk in as a woman, what does that mean to you? And, you know, have you felt anything?
Of course, you know, it's like kind of definitely, you know, giving you one more level of confidence that, and happiness that, okay, there are other peers there. It definitely can be supportive toward each other. Female founders always, you know, we need to push each other up.
Yep.
Especially male-dominated industries. But yeah, it really feels good. Help to my confidence and help to, you know, open conversation around.
Mm-hmm. So Claire, you look at this industry from a different lens, from the economic development lens. You're not in it per se day to day as a founder, but you're facilitating it. What have you seen in the last couple of years?
I'm very fortunate to meet with a lot of international founders, startups, companies that are scaling from around the world, and the incubators and accelerators that are supporting them.
Mm-hmm.
And so certainly when I was in a startup 20 years ago, it's very different.
Yeah.
Very, very different, because there is an ecosystem now. And I have seen some really great examples of incubators and accelerators that support women specifically. So Catalyst Labs from Pakistan is an excellent example of that. Jihan, who runs that, is famous across Pakistan for supporting women and women entrepreneurs. They have an entire stream focused on women. And I'm a huge fan of hers now.
Yeah.
She's one of the great supporters of women. And she has been in tech in Pakistan for probably over 30 years now.
Oh, wow.
So she's one I've certainly learned a lot from and learned from.
You say the word support women. What does that mean tangibly? We can all say, yes, we want to support women in this ecosystem, but what does that mean?
Specifically
what does she do?
A program.
Yeah.
Specifically a program where access to capital.
Mm-hmm.
What I also find really important is the mental health of the entrepreneur and women who have a different approach or a different experience. If they have young children, it's very different for women. With the personal demands. But I also think that since COVID especially, there's been a lens of mental health that I hope that we can provide for women.
That's right. Lisa, you're in the trenches as an entrepreneur, and you've been working at your business for quite a good amount of time now. What have you seen that the differences maybe moving to Canada or in your experience in this ecosystem?
So I have been an entrepreneur
couple of times. But over a period of time, I realized that a lot of things have changed from the time I started back in 2013. A lot of women are coming up, a lot of women founders are there now as compared to 5 or 10 years back. Canada ecosystem is very good. Like, we got a lot of support from TBDC, BHive. When we came here, it would have been hard for an immigrant founder to set the initial footsteps in a new country. A couple of things are still difficult, like capital and funding is still hard. It's still a white space that need to be kind of solved. But a lot of women are joining. Like, I am an all-women's team. Like, a lot of women are there in my company, and I did it kind of, I did it on purpose. Because I realized that a lot of women after having their child, they don't get back to work. So that's one problem that we thought we could solve, even in a very minuscule way. So, like you said, tangibly, I think each women founder, each ecosystem supporter has to make things like small efforts. Like, you hire a senior person in a CXO role or a VP role, a women in a company, or you give them support system in and around when they're younger, or you mentor them. Like, I got I found like really good mentors, and now the ecosystem has very good mentors. And at least Canadian ecosystem, I saw when I landed here, I got in touch with 2 mentors in the community, and they're really good. So a couple of things tangibly that we can do is, get right mentors onboarded, get women to workforce, put them in visible roles wherein they matter, their voices matter. So those are the things that help.
So you said something I want to talk more about mentorship. Do you think, as women at this table, and this is kind of a question to all of us, there's been women who have opened doors for me, who've seen me, who've called the best out of me. And I'm wondering, how do you make sure that you are, making that path behind you is wider and easier to go down, so that other women can succeed just like you? What does that mean to you? Mentorship and finding...
One of the fortunate things that I've had in my work experience is that I've worked with companies as corporates where increasingly over like the last 10, 15 years, there's been more and more representation of women in different roles, at higher and lower roles, but there are much more women in the workforce now. And then the other side, which is our startup ecosystem, where many of the startups often become vendors or, sort of partners to the corporate. So there is this, happy sort of collaboration that's possible now more than ever before, but now we have more women founders. And I think what women need, and as you said correctly, Kristen, is like a sense of mentorship, and I feel a sense of sponsorship as well. So there is a mentorship which is often, okay, I don't think that you know these things, come let me help you, which is wonderful. We all need that, especially industries which are traditionally sunrise industries where we probably don't know a lot of those brass tacks. But sponsorship is something that we don't explore enough, which is where literally, like, I would say, meet so-and-so and, should be great at that. And how many of us are able to do that for others is really the key thing.
I've never heard the two terms of mentorship and sponsorship. I really like...
It's like a step ahead in a way. Like, I would say mentorship is somewhere where you trust, as let's say if there is a male mentor, he would trust himself, right? Because he knows that he's a subject matter expert. A sponsor would trust her. So he would trust the woman in question, the mentee in question.
Right.
And so that's kind of the thing needed at the next step to become more collaborative.
More of a commitment. And
Yeah.
actually, the sponsor or the champion is really putting themselves out there.
Right.
To help. Either seek a new job, help with an interview, get someone an interview, help with your business, access to capital, as you were mentioning. It's a level of risk, actually, for the person who's doing it. And so there has to be the absolute confidence of the person you're doing it for. And that's why I don't think it happens.
How can we make it happen more? How can we make that risk worthwhile? Because not every introduction is going to go well. And I feel like maybe on the other, maybe the men in the room have been making those sponsorships for quite some time.
Oh, yeah.
How do we...
Informally.
Informally.
Sure. Absolutely.
So how do we make it more an everyday thing? You know what, if this doesn't go well, that's okay, because it's a numbers game, and we want to make sure that we're lifting people up. So how do we do that?
I think it's about the relationship. So there's a book that I read, which of course I can't remember the title right now. It's 12 habits that women need to break in order to be successful. And I read it at a particular point in my career. where I was noticing that men were getting promoted around me, not in my current role, men were getting promoted around me and I was not. But I was working harder. I was putting more into it. And so most of the 12 things of the habits to break, I was doing. And I had no idea I was doing.
Right.
Men in my environment at the time did very, very few of those. So one is, women tend to have their calendar absolutely full of meetings. They run from meeting to meeting. The men in the environment I was in would go to a meeting 10 minutes early to have a coffee and talk about the game the night before.
Right.
And then stay after to talk about whatever what they had for lunch, where they were going that evening. They were socializing their projects at the same time. I was not. So I wasn't socializing anything. I was working really hard alone.
Right. In a room.
With my head down, getting it done. I didn't tell anybody what I was doing to get their support until it was almost too late.
Right.
So who was going to champion my projects if I wasn't actually even telling them about them?
Right.
So my calendar is still very busy, but I try and make myself aware that, okay, if I'm not socializing it, I ask someone on my team to make sure they're doing it.
Right.
If this personality and this role fits better to socialize project, I ask them to do it. So I've learned those things.
Right.
Really small things that you can change.
Yeah.
But I never would have known that without reading that book.
Interesting.
Like in that case, like I should say, in terms of this comparison between female management or positioning females in a place is also all terms of execution. Like sometimes females are out in position in a theoretical part of any kind of work because of this communication, this lack of communication that happens normally because we want to do the job good and we are good at research, focusing things, but there is always someone else at our top that are managing us. And then this is another term connected to management, how then we manage as said, our calendar, our relationship, and then all other tasks and our personal branding into the environment that we are. Absolutely. And related to, if it's fine, I just reflect a little bit on my experience, like related to previous question is, like I should say, it's one of my absolute goals in my life to, be supporting this kind of female environment and female empowerment. Because I come from that background. There are two very important females in my life. They put me in the place that I have, like, first definitely my mother, of course, brought from all the, way and give this encouragement to me to speak loud. And the second thing definitely are, like, initially my professor in university that gave me this, as I said, this trust, this full sponsorship and scholarship. Yeah, to, a complete new journey and put me in a position that the rest was my responsibility to use of these opportunities, of course.
Yeah.
But, now I'm really feeling committed to give this back, this feeling. And that will not happen unless I'm going to be empowered and strong in the market,
Can you give us some advice or perspective, for women out there who want to become an entrepreneur like you? What would you tell them?
My biggest advice is first and foremost, always believe in yourself, always. This is the most important thing. If there is thousands of naysayers around you, if there is one person believe in you, always keep this belief in your heart. Ignore everything else and think long term. And if you come to this world of entrepreneurship, you need to be prepared for lots of ups and downs. The road is not smooth. It has lots of challenges, but don't give up. That's the case. So be consistent. Do the good work, hard work, and believe in yourself. I always have a quote that says, "If you believe, it will come." That was my answer.
It may not look the way you thought it would, but it'll come. Lisa, from your perspective as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, so I feel one of the most important pieces is, be risk-taking, take risks. Don't be wary or don't be afraid of not to jump into a pit. I mean, just go all out doing what you want to do. Self-love is also very important. You need to love yourself through the journey because it's going to be a very, 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 very hard journey. So resilience is something that, you will build up. It's not something that you have, but you will build up over a period of time. Second is, build an ecosystem of supporters around you. Have people around you who can support you in your journey because it's gonna be lonesome and hard. So it's good to have like-minded people, like-minded founders, investors, advisors. So always start with building a support system around you because that is going to stay with you in the hardships that you will face throughout.
Dharti is the leader of an org. What is your advice?
This is a piece of advice that I'm giving to myself from 24 onwards, so it's good to share. One is, we need to drop being perfectionists at things, and trying to take risks means that you will be failing. So you fail fast, fail often. Keep, attending to that intuition of trying to try those things. And instead of procrastinating on something, just try whatever comes to your heart and mind. And then it's okay if you fail. You're not to judge yourself because you fail. It's a good thing that you did, so you learned a lot of lessons from that. I think that was one. And then the other is share often. I think that's another thing that we bring to the table a lot is if you have a community of friends, an ecosystem, it's your duty to share. It's a good thing to share that, this happened. And I think that's something I'm intending to do more of. So that's going to be a suggestion for everyone.
And Claire is a leader of an ecosystem.
2 answers.
2? Well, you can give 3 if you'd like. Abundance.
Well, from a personal perspective, I think when I was in a startup and a scale-up before I joined the government, I didn't know government had the support that it does for entrepreneurs, and I wish I had. And maybe it's just increased over the years, or maybe Brampton's on steroids. But I wish I had known about the Entrepreneur Center here, who have incredibly dedicated staff to help you be successful. And they also really get to know you as a person, and they even get to know their families and that type of thing. So I wish I had known the support government had. That sounds kind of nerdy coming from a government person, but really, I honestly do. I really do. And from a personal perspective, I would say always surround yourself with people that will pick you up in any career you're in, but also especially as an entrepreneur. That you, even if it's one person, you have that person that will just pick you up and make you laugh.
Because that's important, right? We got to take it
and then you can keep going. But if you're alone, there isn't anyone.
Thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you for telling us your stories and your hopes and your dreams. It was a wonderful way to celebrate International Women's Day. Thank you so much. Yes, and keep innovating.